What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And I told you before we was going to do a rags to riches with the BMW. And as you can see down below, BMW's got a couple leaks. So I got a new reservoir and a couple hoses. We'll try to swap them out and hopefully that'll take care of it. Let's jump right in. First things first, we're going to jack it up. Throw a drip pan underneath it. That way we don't make a mess. And for the guy in the comments, I brought a jack stand this time.
Toby now has the floor, and he is going to try not to screw this up like everything else in his life. Let me rephrase that. I believe that you can do safety training and make it sound just as good as Daryl.
First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get this air box out of the way. That way we can access everything. Just a little two bolts on the side here. I have a gun too. I don't know why I'm using a hand ratchet, but I guess I'm too lazy to walk over there and grab my gun. Keep it old school. So what I'm replacing is the reservoir itself. It's just got some coolant buildup around the top of it. This reservoir I'm replacing. This upper hose I'll be replacing. And then the lower hose, not this one, I didn't get this one right here. And maybe I should have, but I didn't get this hose. But I do have the upper and the lower in the actual reservoir itself. So now that we got it, we'll just start pulling these C-clips here. And we'll make a little bit of a mess, but BMW is pretty easy to take hoses off. So we're underneath the car now. There's the bottom hose that we are replacing. Goes up. You see right there is where it connects. So I figured I'd go ahead and start down here, pull that C-clip and this one before I started pulling the top. That way I don't get too much downpour on me, but I'm not gonna be able to hold my phone and do that. So let me just go ahead and pull this hose out and then we'll move to the top. So you can see it's gonna be a messy job. Pulled one of the hoses loose. Now we're just gonna collect some fluid. And once it stops enough, I'll pull the rest of the hoses from the top. That's why I didn't want to start at the top, because I didn't want to get rained on while I was trying to get the next ones out. Well, when I was underneath the car disconnecting this bottom hose right here, you see? I don't know if you can see that. It didn't want to come, so I had to pull it a little bit harder than I'd like to have, and it kind of looks like it may have pressure cracked. That's a hard pipe that runs under the intake. I'm not 100% sure it's cracked, but I'd rather go ahead and just replace it just to save myself the trouble later on. But after that, I moved on and went ahead and pulled the reservoir, which I didn't record. I was in an ill mood. I don't have this hose to replace, so I'm going to leave it. I do have a replacement for these, which have them sitting over here, which this one, it just sits down right on top of that port, and then you got this hose here. So I do have replacements, but I actually think we're going to pull the intake and go ahead and replace the hard pipes too before we go too much deeper. But yeah, that's pretty much it. These are all snap rings. These are pretty easy. There's actually no hardware or anything to remove that. So yep, I just got angry, but it happens. All right, so we've actually already gotten the new hard pipes put on, and I'm glad we did, because these are the old ones. So I was rotted off inside the block there. But new hard pipes are on, and I've already got some new gaskets on the intake manifolds. We're about to set that back on. Once I get that back on, I'll actually show you the original plan, which was the coolant system as far as the reservoir and the hoses. So let me get this intake on. Well, I kind of started things out with more of a what I was going to do or a how to, but I think we're going to switch it up a little bit, just tell pretty much what we did, because I stopped recording. I actually worked. It was dark. I had a flashlight in my mouth the whole time. So I couldn't really actually record what I was doing. Basically, the original goal was the reservoir and a couple of the hoses. We ended up replacing the hard pipes as well. This one, you see how it's rotted off into the block. These are actually underneath the intake manifold. So while we were there, we also replaced the intake manifold gaskets. We had an injector, so we replaced the injectors. And now it's all back together. So I'm gonna put some fresh oil in it, and we're gonna flush the cooling system and hopefully have it back on the street. So. All right, well, fired her up, took her for a little test spin, and she runs. So that's more than I can say about a lot of things people work on. So we'll just monitor it, make sure no leaks come back. But I think that's a wrap on this one.